Salt Sanctuary is one of my favorite games. It takes the atmosphere and risk-rewards decision-making of Dark Souls and translate it to a Metroidvania-style adventure with a difficulty level that I can actually enjoy. So when I found out that there's going to be another side-scrolling Souls-like game that has gorgeous, colorful pixel art and is being published by Adult Swim Games, I was super excited. And upon playing Death's Gambit, I am still pretty excited, but I have some concerns. So in terms of the Souls-like, it does have some interesting ideas with playing around with the mechanics. For example, shards, which are your souls in this game, you don't actually lose when you die, which really lessens the stress of getting into fights. Instead, now you lose one of your healing items. And you can continue to lose your healing items until you're out of healing items. And of course, if it's just too hard, you can pay shards to get them all back. So it's a little tiny fee. It's not too frustrating. There is a way to remove the risk of losing your healing items to begin with. And the game lets you sacrifice a healing item so that you can do more damage. So it's entirely possible for you to put all of your healing items into your damage, and then you can just walk around without having to worry about losing them, and you're also stronger while doing it. Maybe speedrunners will probably be into that, those guys that like to do no-hit runs, since it rewards them for taking the risk of cutting away their safety net with being stronger and more powerful. There's also these special chests that open after a boss, and only if you didn't use a healing item while fighting them, which definitely rewards players who are pretty good at the game. However, I've fought a couple bosses, and only one of them has had such a chest. The first one that I fought. And the game didn't tell me about it beforehand. And so then I would start fighting bosses without using healing items and instead using damage, and then I'll beat them, and there won't be this special reward chest, so I feel like I'm kind of getting shortchanged here. But one way you don't feel shortchanged for the bosses is how you can actually earn shards for just getting a certain amount of damage in. You now no longer have to completely beat the boss to get its shards. When you die, and if you got it down to a certain part of its health, they'll give you a percentage. So all your attempts might not feel like a complete waste of time. But a lot of the game feels almost exactly like Dark Souls. I mean, this character class selection is straight out of their games. There's a dragon on a bridge. There's guys who sit and laugh when they finish talking. And there's a central hub full of NPCs that sell you things that you can attack and kill. Now, I probably killed an NPC by accident, and he screamed, "This isn't over, I'll get you back," so I'm a little concerned, because that guy might have been a merchant or something, because I once accidentally killed a merchant in Resident Evil 4 and I never got over it. But the guy also went down in 2 hits, so maybe I was supposed to kill him? One thing that's interesting about the classes is how they all have a specific gameplay type, where certain actions reward you with your special meter. For example, there's one class that gains meter by parrying, or one class that gains meter by dodging, or a guy that gains meter by using healing items. Now, I went with the Acolyte of Death class, because he gains meter from killing enemies, and I'm like, okay, that's manageable. And he has more checkpoints throughout the game, and I'm like, I suck at these games, I'll need all the checkpoints I can get. I immediately regretted my decision, because even though he starts with a really high finesse stat, which is dexterity, he has terrible stamina, and the scythes I find extremely unwieldy. Some people might love them, but I don't. Fortunately, a little ways in, you'll have access to others, and you can start building your character in any way you wish using stat points. Because that's how these games work. It's not really you're set in that class, you're just kind of there. You just kind of start out that way. And then you can do whatever sort of build you want. So the game actually has a story, and they're going in depth into your character's personality and backstory, which also sets it apart from its other games, who basically you play as blank slates. Here's my main issue, though. The game feels really, really floaty. None of the characters, like not your character and the enemy characters, don't really feel like they're in a world interacting with each other. They just kind of feel like paper cutouts that are just swinging in each other's directions. And I think I can chalk this up to sort of poor feedback design. Like any time a weapon hits, either your weapons hit enemies, and especially when enemies hit you, there's little to no like sound effects or visual indicators that indicate that you're getting damaged, so you feel like super cheated. Here's an example. See, in this game, everything feels crunchy, but here everything just kind of feels weightless. And it led me to get really frustrated because I didn't feel like I was taking the hits. I know it's possible to do this in a future patch, but it's unlikely that they will, but I really hope that they fix these really poor sound effects here.